And now we have this video of Dr. Christof Plothe from Germany, and after we follow with Dr. Fabio Burigana and Rossana Chifari, and we close this session in the morning to have time to do the lunch, and after we'll start it from the hour.
Dear attendees, honorable deputies and fellow speakers, my gratitude for the organization and participation at this highly significant conference may be the spark of an enlightening flame. My name is Christof Plothe. I'm a DO from Germany, and I've been researching the foundations of health for decades. I've written numerous articles, books on the subject, and gave online nutrition courses and online summits for healthcare professionals and appear regularly online on TV and radio about health subjects. For some reason, our medical training did not include the definition and enhancement of health. Never in the history of science have so many articles about one disease been published in such a short time. Many crucially important conclusions about why and why not we contract serious forms of COVID-19 have not made their way to the public or the healthcare professionals all over the world. The following presentation is an attempt to summarize the current science around the health promotion and prevention and treatment of the virus, given the fact that most people beginning with symptoms and a positive test are being sent home without any guidance and advised until they get worse, and the amount of science we have for the importance of early stage treatment, this has to change. A PDF will be made available for anybody who's interested in the sources of what I'm saying here. So, coming to why is somebody getting severely affected by COVID or not, this has been clearly found out in many studies in the last 2 years, and definitely age is a factor, and underlying conditions. And if you look at some of them, because over 90% of all the death cases have these comorbidities, 1 to 3, and are in the older age group above 65. It's obesity, diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, all of them being diet related. And then we have the ones affected by the immune system. And why did I put up a slide here of an aquarium and put a cell into it? Well, in fact, everybody aquarium owner knows if you have a sick fish, the first thing you look at is the quality of the water. And the second one is the fish getting the right nutrition? For some reason, we don't do that with humans. And instead, we try to find the pill, no matter what the circumstances of that cell are. So one of the markers that people look in hospitals when patients enter in more progressed states is inflammation, because the higher the inflammation when you come in, the worse the prognosis is. We're looking at CRP, a conventional inflammatory marker, and cytokines, interleukin-6, especially in PGA2. I will come back to that later. Also, we look at deficiencies of vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients, and all of them can be clearly linked to the outcome of COVID-19 in many, many studies that have been carried out. And the first one that I'll be talking in the next slide, the most important one, is also the state of our innate immune system. So natural killer cells and IgA. What does this mean? If a respiratory virus like COVID enters a body, it does so via the mucous membranes, and they are in the nasal passageways, in the lungs, and in the gut. If we look at the science around us, we know that 90% of the viral defense is in these mucous membranes and all the bacteria that are in these membranes. That's the Th1 response of our body. And only if this has broken down, the pathogen enters the bloodstream, and then antibody comes into play. So it is highly important to find ways in order to support natural killer cells, IgA, not to let the pathogen enter the physiology. So we start with the mucous membranes, and of course we know that in every season, the drier they are, the more likely we are to be infected. So moisturization with a simple sea salt is a very, very important thing, especially when you spend much time indoors, like in this current season. But have been very interesting attempts made to use sprays in order to kill all potential pathogens in the mucous membranes in the nasal passage. And one of them is a nitrous oxide spray that's currently been granted approval in Israel and Canada. And nitrous oxide opens blood vessels, but also has amazing antiviral capacity, and the efficiency are over 99%. So hydrogen peroxide and iodine sprays have been done by other researchers with very, very good results. To keep your mucous membranes in a good state or to clear them seems a good idea. The next one is diet. Of course, the basis of everything we're talking about here now. And that should be two foundations. One is to get as many micronutrients in so you don't get deficient in the first place, and then to be anti-inflammatory in nature. So consensus when it comes to that subject is to have as many plant-based, colorful vegetable, fruit, and herbs in your meals, preferably to every meal that you're eating, and try to avoid saturated fats, so animal fats and dairy, and a reduction even in omega-6 oils, so that many plant-based oils can actually increase inflammation. The microbiome is intrinsically linked to that, of course, and it's interesting to know microbiome is all the bacteria that we have in and on our body, and the microbiome in the lung and in the gut are in exchange all the time. So if you increase one, you will increase the function of the other one, and vice versa. So again here, eat colorful, because all those phytochemicals, they will feed different bacteria in your gut. And you might also consider a day of fasting or even 12 hours, and to get prebiotics. So that's food for the bacteria, linseed oil, oat flakes, and probiotics. Over-the-counter probiotics often contain strains that have proven to be especially immune regulatory in COVID-19. And talking about that, we said that natural killer cells in IgA should be upregulated, but inflammation should be downregulated. So walks in the woods, that sounds too easy to be true, but there have been many studies on this, and you get an increase in natural killer cells 6-fold if you just have an hour walk in the woods. There's no medication doing that for you that I know of, and larch and pine are actually even working against the spike protein, and beta-glucan in yeast or in oats has highly efficient upregulation of natural killer cells in the IgA. Echinacea is a plant that does the same thing. Coming to the psyche, in fact, all we've been doing now in the last 2 years is quite counterproductive to our well-being, that's for sure. But even worse, fear and anger increase interleukin-6, so one of the prognostic markers. So what we want back to social contacts, beauty, love, gratitude. All these emotions have been intensely studied, and that's common sense, have a positive effect on our psyche. And exercise, don't forget, it's quite simple. You can just go outside, and the more you go actually outside and not indoors, then healthier it is, because you get all these phytochemicals from trees, from plants out there that help to stabilize your microbiome in your lungs and have amazing effects in your system. Micronutrients, other people in the summit will be talking about that, especially vitamin D, but consider that the majority of people in the Western world is vitamin D deficient, and we can reduce a severe outcome by over 85% if people are in efficient levels of vitamin D before entering a hospital. There are numerous studies about it, and we've known that for decades. Any viral infection in the winter will be well tackled by vitamin D, but vitamin C and K play a part in that as well. Most people are iodine deficient. That's also very important as an antimicrobial substance. And the number one aspect is really zinc and quercetin. Quercetin takes the zinc into the cells and therefore blocks it. So that the coronavirus can't enter. This has been thoroughly researched also since SARS and MERS was there, as well as NAC and bromelain. NAC, N-acetylcysteine, has been called the anti-corona medication in 2002-2003 because of its fantastic effects on the immune system and its antiviral property, especially against coronaviruses. Niacin, B vitamin, and lysine and glycine prevent replication of the virus, which isn't a bad idea either. Breathing is, of course, essential if you have a respiratory virus. And breathing exercises should be advised on an early stage. We all don't breathe well enough. And especially if you are outside, again, you have negative ions that work very anti-inflammatory and support the immune system in your lungs. You have beetroot that you can take because the bacteria on your tongue convert it into nitrous oxide again, and you have a 200% increase in circulation to your lungs. That's a very, very simple thing to do, as well as bitter essences on your tongue. HBOT, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, is also something that's worth looking into, because I believe nowadays it should be a central part of any hospital because of the recovery rates in the studies of COVID and many other diseases as well. Anti-inflammatory is, especially in late stages, essential. But if you look at curcumin, the yellow spice in the curry, that actually has an 86% improvement in early stage treatments. 86%. There's hardly any medication being able to claim that. And spirulina and algae and licorice, that classic licorice, have been known for SARS and MERS already to be highly efficient against all sorts of coronaviruses. And don't forget the light. If you do a walk outside, you will have plenty of UV light, which kills within nanoseconds any coronavirus that's out there. So you should always socialize. There should nothing be against socializing with your friends on a sunny afternoon, and increase your well-being. But also in the morning and the evening, there is a lot of infrared spectrum in the sun that is highly restorable and immune stimulating and anti-inflammatory. And if you can't get outside, it might be worth just using a simple infrared lamp. So what could we do? We could distribute the information about prevention from diet, from exercise, from the micronutrients, from the microbiome, simple things that we could all do to enhance. Children could do it at school in order to enhance their immune system. And the second is, many countries have already done this. They've done a home intervention kit with the advantage that if you have symptoms and you have a positive test, you don't have to go to your doctor and infect everybody's there, or to go into a pharmacy or somewhere else. You can actually get it sent home. And that includes the basic micronutrients, the basic medications, and this could be keeping in mind the earlier the intervention starts, the more efficient it is. There have been numerous studies about it, a very effective way to tackle the problem. Just talking about the fact that this has been studied as well. Dr. Brownstein, with whom I communicated 2 days ago, already published in 2020 in July a nutritional and oxidative approach to COVID. So far, he has had 600 patients and no death. So why not increasing health instead of waiting until it's too late? Albert Einstein always has appropriate quotes. Intellectuals solve problems, geniuses prevent them. Let's all be geniuses and help stand together in order to make this crisis be controlled. Thank you very much for your attention, and all the best to everybody.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we do the break for the lunch, otherwise people will be in hypo. And the lunch is outside, in front of the Pantheon. Is the same restaurant that yesterday other people go. And is a buffet outdoor, externally, so we are safe for all things. Così.
Un'ora giusta.
1 hour, 1 hour, no more.